Have you ever watched a rose bloom beside a wilted flower and wondered why the rose never tries to compete? It doesn't reach, it doesn't fight, it doesn't beg for sunlight. It simply exists in its beauty, and the world adjusts. That's exactly how a high-value woman lives. She doesn't compete, she doesn't chase, and somehow she still wins. Why? Because what's real doesn't rush. What's rare never begs to be seen. There's a silent kind of power that doesn't scream to be noticed, and yet it's unforgettable. A woman with this power walks into a room, and without saying a word, she becomes the standard. Not because she fought for attention, but because she never needed to. She doesn't try to outshine the one he's currently choosing. She doesn't shrink herself to be more like her. She doesn't ask, "What does she have that I don't?" Because deep inside she already knows the truth. He may not see her now, but the day will come when he'll wish he had. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." And isn't that what happens in love sometimes? A woman pulls back. She stops chasing. She lets go of the need to be chosen, and in that silence he thinks she gave up. But what he doesn't realize is she didn't give up, she leveled up. A high-value woman understands one thing very clearly. Her energy is not up for auction. She's not here to fight for space in a heart that made her feel like an option. And in a world where comparison tries to steal her peace, she remembers something deeper. A lighthouse doesn't move for the ship. It stands firm, shining through the storm, guiding only those who are wise enough to see its light. Now maybe you've been that woman, feeling like you have to try harder, love louder, give more to win him back. Maybe you've found yourself measuring your worth by his attention. But lovely woman, let me tell you something you've forgotten. You are not a backup plan, not a maybe, not a second choice. You are the foundation, the standard, the reason he will one day look back and feel the ache of everything he lost. And this is where it begins. This is where you stop chasing and start rising. You are no longer just a woman waiting. You are learning to reign, not because he saw your worth, but because you finally did. If this message touched something deep inside you, if it reminded you of the strength you forgot you had, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're pouring our hearts into creating this space for you, a space where your pain turns into power, where your silence becomes strength, and where you remember that you were never meant to compete. You were meant to reign. Number 1. If you had to compete, you were never chosen, you were just convenient. Have you ever noticed how the wrong man will make you feel like love is a race, like his heart is a prize you have to fight for, like you have to look better, try harder, speak softer, be more, just to be seen? He makes you feel like if you can just hold on a little tighter, he'll finally pick you. But let me ask you something real. If you had to compete, were you ever truly chosen? Or were you just convenient until he decided? There's a difference between being loved and being used as a placeholder. When a man knows your worth, he doesn't compare, he doesn't juggle, he doesn't treat your love like a backup plan. A woman should never have to earn what's meant to be freely given. And if he made you feel like you were one of many, that wasn't love, it was survival. And you, lovely woman, were never made to survive a man's indecision. You were made to be chosen without a fight. Seneca once said, "No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't deserve." You didn't lose because you walked away. You won because you stopped lowering yourself to be noticed. Think of a diamond placed in a pile of rocks. A fool might overlook it, thinking it's just another stone. But a man with vision, he knows its worth instantly. That's you. The reason you don't compete is because you are the standard. And a man who makes you feel like you have to earn his time is not a man strong enough to keep you. Now, maybe you gave your heart to him. Maybe you hoped he would see you. Maybe you thought, if I just hold on a little longer, he'll choose me. But he didn't, and that hurts. But hear me now. You are not broken. You are not less. You are not the one who lost. You are the woman who walked away from the table where love was treated like a prize. And now you rise. Your energy is not something to be compared. Your love is not up for competition. You are not just another option. You are the one. And the day you stopped trying to win his love was the day you took your crown back. Say this with your whole heart and write it in the comments, queens. I am not convenient. I am the chosen one. And if this message reminded you of who you are, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are working hard to bring you life-changing truth because, dear lady, you were never meant to chase. You were born to reign. Number 2, the loudest goodbye is the one said in silence. Have you ever noticed how a door never slams when it's left open, but when it closes softly and never reopens, that's when the silence hits the hardest? Sometimes the goodbye that hurts the most is the one without a single word. No screaming, no pleading, just quiet steps that never return. And for him, that's the moment everything starts to sink in. Not when you argued, not when you cried, but when you said nothing at all. He expected a reaction. He thought you would chase, question, compete, but instead you gave him silence. And silence speaks louder than any fight ever could. Because when a woman stops talking, stops explaining, stops fighting for love that should have never required a battle, that's when he begins to hear everything he refused to listen to before. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who caused the pain." And that is what you chose. You chose peace over proving, silence over screaming. You chose to let go, not because you didn't care, but because you finally realized your value wasn't up for debate. Imagine a candle burning bright in a dark room. When it's blown out suddenly, the smoke lingers, but when it slowly fades on its own, the darkness becomes unforgettable. That's how your absence will feel to him. Not just missing your words, but the light you brought into his world. And now, he is left in that quiet, realizing what he pushed away. Maybe you once waited for him to notice you. Maybe you once asked, "Why not me?" But beautiful woman, hear this. You were never meant to stand in line for his heart. You were never created to prove your place. You are not noise trying to be louder. You are power that doesn't have to speak. And now, you are becoming what you were always meant to be, not the one who competes, but the one he cannot forget. This is not your end. It's your beginning. You are no longer the woman trying to be heard. You are the woman who walks in silence and still leaves an echo behind. Let him sit in the emptiness. Let him wonder, because the goodbye you never said will be the one he never recovers from. Affirm this and let it rise inside you. My silence speaks louder than anything I could say. Write it in the comments, queens. Claim your calm power today. And if this spoke to your soul, if it reminded you of who you really are beneath the pain, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are working every day to create these life-changing lessons just for you, because you were never meant to compete. You were meant to reign. Number 3. A true prize doesn't chase the fool who can't see its worth. Have you ever watched a crown chase a man? Of course not, because a true prize never runs after the one who doesn't see its worth. And yet, here you are, wondering why he didn't choose you, questioning what she has that you don't, losing sleep over someone who didn't even recognize the treasure standing right in front of him. But let's be honest, if he couldn't see your value, then he wasn't meant to hold it. And you were never meant to compete, because the moment you compete for love, you forget that you are the love. He may have walked away. He may be choosing someone else right now. He may be acting like you never mattered. And still, you're here, carrying the weight of his blindness on your back. But, beautiful woman, listen closely. You do not chase a fool who could not even recognize the gold he was holding. The one who makes you feel like you're not enough is never the one who deserves you. You are not a contender in his games. You are not a shadow waiting to be noticed. You are the light. You are the standard. And real power never begs to be chosen. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." And isn't that what you've done? Wasted your energy trying to prove you were better than her, trying to prove you were worth staying for. But now it ends, because the woman who stops chasing is the woman who starts winning. Think of a mountain. It doesn't move for the climber. It doesn't shrink for the weak. It stands tall, and only those strong enough rise to its peak. You are that mountain. If he couldn't climb, let him admire from a distance. Let him watch as your silence becomes the very lesson his heart will never forget. This is the turning point. You are not the woman who fights for a man's eyes. You are the woman who walks away and becomes unforgettable. And from this moment forward, you live as a queen. You do not chase. You do not compare. You do not beg. You reign. Write this in the comments and claim it. I am the prize. I do not chase. Say it like you mean it, queens. Let the world hear your power. We are here to give you truth, strength, and the lessons that will build your empire, because you were never meant to compete. You were meant to conquer. Number 4. He'll regret it when the curtain falls and you're no longer in the room. Have you ever watched a man who thought he had all the time in the world until the lights went out and you were gone? He played it cool. He thought you'd always be there. He thought your love was permanent, something he could come back to when the thrill wore off. But he didn't know that high-value love doesn't wait behind closed curtains. And when the final scene ends, when the audience disappears, when the spotlight fades, he'll look around and realize the one thing missing was you. He thought he won when he chose her. He thought silence meant you gave up. But what he failed to see was that silence is the sound of a woman rising. You didn't lose. You left the room. And now his biggest regret won't be what happened, but who disappeared when the show ended. Seneca once said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage, and loving a man who doesn't see you, that takes courage. But walking away without a word, that takes power." He thought you would fight for him. He expected you to prove yourself. But high-value women don't stand in lines to be chosen. She doesn't chase a man who made her feel like second place. She simply exits the stage and the silence that follows. It teaches more than 1,000 speeches ever could. Think of a theater filled with noise, applause, laughter. But when the final act ends and the crowd is gone, only truth remains. That truth is this: he lost a woman who carried grace in her silence and power in her absence. And no matter how loud the world gets, he will hear the echo of you. The woman who walked away without competing, without crying, without saying goodbye. Beautiful woman, maybe you feel like you're losing, maybe your heart is tired. But what if I told you, this is not the end. This is your beginning. You are not weak for walking away. You are wise. You are not forgotten. You are unforgettable. And now, dear lady, you stop waiting in the shadows. You rise, not as a woman desperate to be seen, but as a queen who finally sees herself. Write this in the comments and claim it. When the curtain fell, I rose. Let the world know you're done playing small, done waiting for him to notice. Queens, like this video and subscribe to the channel, because we are working hard to bring you these life-changing truths. And remember, he'll regret it, but you'll reign. Number 5. Fighting for love dulls the crown, and you were born to wear it untouched. Have you ever seen a crown tossed into a battlefield? Its shine fades under the dust, its beauty buried beneath the chaos. That's what happens when a woman fights for love that should have been freely given. She dulls her own light by trying to win over a man who doesn't even know her worth. And the saddest part? He watches, thinking she needs to fight to be chosen, when all along she was never meant to compete at all. There's a deep kind of heartbreak that comes not from being rejected, but from lowering yourself to prove you're enough. Maybe you've done that. Maybe you found yourself trying harder, giving more, bending, shrinking, just to hold on to a man who made you feel like love was something you had to earn. But hear this clearly: love that must be fought for is not love, it's survival. And a woman like you was not born to survive relationships. You were born to rule them. Rumi once said, "You were born with wings, why prefer to crawl through life?" And that's exactly what happens when you beg for his attention, when you chase his love, when you fight other women just to be seen. You forget that you already had wings. You forget you were the one he should have been fighting for. Think of a crown locked in a glass case. It's not thrown into the hands of just anyone. It's protected, elevated, preserved for the one who's worthy to carry it. That's what you are. You are that crown. The moment you stop fighting for love that wounds you is the moment you start living like the treasure you've always been. He walked away. Let him. He made you compete. Let that be the last time. Because your love is not a prize in a contest. It's a gift only the worthy get to hold. Dear lady, no more breaking yourself just to be seen. No more lowering your value just to be chosen. The one who made you fight for his love never deserved it. And the moment you rise, the moment you stop playing the game, he will realize he lost the woman who never needed to fight because she was already the win. Queens, write this in the comments and claim it. My crown doesn't compete. It reigns. Let the world know that from this moment on, you are done fighting for what should have been yours freely. We're here, pouring truth and strength into every word, because queens like you were born to rise, not to chase. Number 6. She might hold his hand, but you still haunt his soul. Have you ever wondered how it's possible for him to be holding her hand, yet still dream about you? How he can laugh with her and still feel something missing? That's not your imagination, that's truth. Because a high-value woman doesn't just pass through a man's life, she imprints on his soul. You may be quiet now. You may have walked away without a fight. But the silence you left behind speaks louder than her presence ever could. He thought he could replace you. He believed love was something easy to trade, something he could find again with a new face and a new touch. But what he doesn't understand yet is this: a woman like you isn't something he gets twice. He might hold her hand, but when the room gets quiet, when the excitement fades, when real life hits, he will feel your absence like a shadow he can't escape. You didn't try to win him over. You didn't stay to fight for attention. You simply chose peace over pain. And that, beautiful soul, is the reason why you still haunt him. There's a quote that says, "You can't bury a fire that still remembers how to burn." And that's exactly who you are. You were the fire, the warmth, the glow he never appreciated. He thought walking into another flame would feel the same. But now he knows. Not all fires burn with the same depth. You were the kind of love that made him feel safe and seen. She might be close to him now, but he will keep searching for something she can never give, because she is not you. Think of perfume, the rare kind, the one that lingers long after the person has left. That's your presence. It stayed with him even when you walked away. And no matter how tightly he holds her hand, your memory is wrapped around his spirit. That's what happens when a high-value woman doesn't compete. She simply becomes unforgettable. Now is the time to remember who you are. You are not waiting. You are not broken, you are becoming. Your silence has more power than any scream. Your absence teaches him what your presence once gave freely. He lost you, and now he must live with that echo. Write this in the comments and claim your power. She may have his hand, but I still haunt his soul. Queens, let this be your reminder. Stop chasing, stop proving. You don't need to compete to win. You are the win. We're working hard to bring you powerful, life-changing lessons because you were never meant to be chosen. You were meant to reign. Number 7. You don't belong in the arena. You belong on the throne. Have you ever wondered why the lioness never joins the chase, yet everything still bows in her presence? That's the power of a woman who knows exactly who she is. She doesn't run into the arena clawing for attention. She doesn't fight for a place in a man's heart, and still she wins, because the woman who knows her worth doesn't need to compete. She doesn't chase love, she attracts it. And when she walks away from the noise, he starts hearing the silence he can't forget. He may have looked at you and thought you would enter the battle. He expected you to fight for his attention, to prove yourself better than her. But you didn't. And that's what shook him the most. You didn't pick up the sword. You didn't play his game. You simply stood tall, knowing that the one who has the throne doesn't need to step into the arena. And now, he watches. He watches from a distance, trying to understand why the one who refused to compete is the one he can't replace. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." And when your thoughts begin to shift from, "Why didn't he choose me?" to, "Why did I even want someone who made me compete?" everything changes. Because this pain you feel right now, it's not a loss, it's a redirection, it's a calling back to yourself. Think of a diamond buried in the earth. It doesn't scream to be found, it doesn't shine for attention, but once uncovered, nothing can match its brilliance. That's you. He overlooked you because you weren't loud, because you weren't chasing. But one day, he will walk into a room filled with everything he thought he wanted, and still feel your absence like a ghost that won't let him rest. But lovely woman, you are not here to haunt him. You are here to rise, to reign. You are not made for battles over attention. You are made for peace, for power, for presence. That's why you don't belong in the arena. You belong on the throne. And now it's time to take your place. Queens, write this in the comments and claim it. I belong on the throne, not in the arena. Let this be your declaration. If this message reminded you of who you really are, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are working hard to bring you life-changing lessons because queens like you were never meant to chase. You were meant to reign.